Empathy allows the characters of the curious incident of the dog in the nighttime and Promethea to gain independence and grow as individuals. Christopher uniquely possesses the ability to put himself in the mind of another person and anticipate their next move. He does this in order to problem solve, piece together the actions of others, and make decisions. Christopher's autism, paired with his lack of empathy, causes his use for anticipation and neglect for others' feelings.
The story begins with Christopher walking into his neighbor's yard and discovering a dog has been murdered with a garden fork. Immediately, Christopher states, "I like dogs. You always know what a dog is thinking. It has 4 moods: happy, sad, cross, and concentrating. Also, dogs are faithful and they do not tell lies because they do not talk." This suggests that Christopher understands dogs in a way he does not understand humans. Christopher cannot tell lies and he does not understand how people are capable of doing so. This is why he likes animals such as Wellington the dog and Toby his rat. Christopher recognizes that animals are less complex than people, which make it easier for Christopher to relate to the animals and harder for Christopher to fit in with the people.
Christopher's unawareness for other people's feelings and the words he uses leads to several scenarios of insult and misunderstanding. When discussing his feelings with his teacher, Christopher proceeds to tell her that he believes his classmate is less smart than a dog. This comparison is made without any hesitation and complete disregard that what he has said is a complete insult. Using the comparison between human intelligence and an animal's is something most would find completely out of line. However, Christopher doesn't seem to be bothered or even notice the fact that what he has said is unacceptable. In his mind, he has done nothing but tell the truth. The teacher proceeds to tell Christopher not to tell that thought to the classmate's mother. However, this makes no sense to him. Christopher understands emotions that come with a person's feelings, but he is incapable of understanding why people have these feelings when he is merely telling the truth.
When Christopher is taught by his teacher that there are more emotions other than happy and sad, Christopher is confused. When these images were shown to Christopher, he was unable to say what they meant. I got her to draw lots of these faces and then write down next to them exactly what they meant. I kept the piece of paper in my pocket and took it out when I didn't understand what someone was saying. Christopher knows that he is different than other people because he cannot understand facial clues and expressions more complex than happy and sad. He is aware that people have other emotions, but he cannot understand them. Christopher's love for mystery and the willingness to get into the mind of others has him searching for the answers to the murder of Wellington. This leads him to the hidden letters in his father's closet. When his father is confronted about the letters from his mother, he blindsides Christopher by admitting to killing Wellington. With this new information, he has been told he comes to the only possible reason he can anticipate. His father is a murderer. In his mind, Christopher could and indeed will be the next victim. This leads to Christopher brainstorming all possible conclusions to avoid his father and death. This anticipation ends with only one option, and after ruling out all other possibilities, he runs away to London.
Christopher finds himself in different situations in which he is unaware of the social norms. At one point during his journey, Christopher is forced to take a train to London so he can live with his mom. While waiting at the train station, Toby, Christopher's rat, manages to escape from Christopher's pocket and proceeds to wander around the train station. When Christopher realizes Toby is missing, he starts searching for him. Christopher finds Toby in the tracks of a train. Christopher does not think about the dangers of jumping into the track. He is entirely focused on retrieving Toby. Christopher is distracted and does not notice that there is a train coming. Luckily, a man notices the danger that Christopher is in and comes to help. And then the man with the diamond patterns on his socks grabbed hold of me and pulled me, and then I screamed. But he kept pulling me, and he pulled me up onto the concrete, and we fell over, and I carried on screaming because he had hurt my shoulder. The way Christopher writes this shows that he is not concerned about being run over by a train, and he is unaware that the man just saved his life. All Christopher is thinking about is that the man touched him and that the man hurt his shoulder. Most people would be eternally grateful for the generous acts of this man, but all Christopher can think about is how the man touched him, and Christopher does not like being touched.
Sophie is able to use her own empathetic abilities to turn into Promethea and grow as an individual and superpower. Sophie is able to piece together her own thoughts as Promethea. Her empathy towards this character and the Promethea before her enable her to think and become this superpower. Although most of the Prometheas become the superpower through their own ways of thought and communication, one of them is the result of a man in love with a fantasy. Senate is first perceived as a lonely, sad man. Although he is married, he is not sexually satisfied. This unsatisfaction leads to an uncontrollable obsession. He is completely indulged with the appearance and breathtaking sight of the woman of his dreams, in this case Promethea. Senate's mind is so encompassed with the idea that the power of his words and poetic lines bring Promethea through. However, surprisingly in the end, she is not the strong, mighty woman that he has so long fantasized about. This Promethea in fact turns out to be the weakest and least serious of them all.
This scenario contrasts with Sophie because she comes into Promethea all on her own. From the start, her first transition is difficult because she's never had to think of herself as Promethea. Sophie writes down that she is Promethea several times, convincing her mind, and this allows her to save herself and avoid an almost deadly situation. Using her mind to create a new persona and remove herself from harmful situations is possible because of all the research on Promethea she had previously gathered. All this allowed her to come into the superpower role as a strong, smart, and capable Promethea. Similarly to these two characters, each of the Prometheas has their own type of skill and ways into the superpower. They each have their own unique personality, which is what makes these characters and this legacy so intriguing. One of the women is a very tough and rugged Promethea, while on the other hand, another is very emotional and artistic. They all differ in their own ways, but in some way succeed and were able to survive using their individuality. This is what makes them and Sophie so independent and such a growing superpower.